The low hum of the Boston Steakhouse had almost returned to its rhythm. The clatter of plates drifting from the kitchen, the muted conversations, all of it trying, gently, to erase the moment of terror that had just unfolded. But for Daniel Archer, the aftershock still pulsed in his chest. A primal beat against his ribs, he settled back into the booth opposite Lily, whose small hands were pressed together, her gaze fixed on him with wide-eyed awe, the kind usually reserved for the heroes in her storybooks. He ruffled her hair, soft and slow, a silent promise to ground them both, back in the simple joy of birthday fries and cake. Before they could truly breathe again, a voice reached them, soft as the whisper of fine silk. "Excuse me." Daniel turned, and there she was, the woman he had pulled from the edge of panic. Her breathing had steadied, yet a tremor still lingered in her eyes, betraying the near-fatal struggle. Up close, her elegance was undeniable. Not just the tailored dress that draped her like quiet luxury, not the delicate jewelry catching candlelight with subtle fire, but the way she held herself, a quiet command in every line of her body. A world Daniel rarely touched. "I didn't get your name," she said, her voice low, rich, a sound that slid down his spine like warm honey. Daniel stood, awkward but instinctively polite. "Daniel Archer, and this is Lily." Lily gave a shy wave, cheeks still flushed from the chaos. A small pink cake slowly melting on her plate. "Victoria Sterling," the woman answered, with a slight nod that felt like grace itself. Her gaze softened as it drifted to Lily. "I owe you both, more than words can ever hold." "You don't owe me anything," Daniel said quickly, almost brushing it away. Anyone would have done the same. A delicate eyebrow lifted, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. "No, they wouldn't have." Her attention returned to Lily, to the untouched slice of chocolate cake. "Is it her birthday?" "Yes," Daniel said, a faint, almost secret smile tugging at his lips. "6 today." Victoria's gaze lingered on the half-melted ice cream, on the simple cake. She hesitated, just a breath, then turned and walked toward the back of the restaurant. Without another word, Daniel frowned, watching her disappear. Lily tugged his sleeve, voice hushed with wonder. "Daddy? Is she a princess?" He chuckled. Low and tender. "She might be." Moments later, Victoria returned, the manager trailing behind her like a quiet shadow. In his careful hands rested a two-tiered cake, frosted pale pink, dotted with tiny sugar stars that shimmered like real constellations under the restaurant's soft lights. Gasps rose around the room as the cake was placed gently, so gently, on their little table. Lily's eyes grew impossibly wide, catching every single sparkle at once. "I hope this is all right," Victoria said softly, a small, genuine smile blooming on her lips. "I thought she deserved something a little more magical tonight." Lily let out a gasp so full of wonder that half the diners turned to look. "You're a fairy," she whispered, pure belief shining in her voice. "A real one." Victoria laughed, warm, unguarded, nothing like the polished woman who had walked in earlier. She knelt to Lily's level, eyes bright with something tender and new. Daniel stared at the magnificent cake, completely undone. "You didn't have to do that," he murmured. "I wanted to," Victoria answered simply, her gaze meeting his, a quiet understanding passing between them, like a shared heartbeat. The rest of the evening blurred into something dreamlike. Victoria slid into their booth, as if she had always belonged there, her presence an unexpected warmth. Lily, usually so shy, chattered endlessly about school, cartoons, her fierce dream of becoming an astronaut. Victoria listened, really listened, eyes never leaving the little girl's animated face, asking questions that opened Lily wider, laughing in the right places, never once touching her phone. To Daniel, it was disarming. She was supposed to live in a world of whispered deals and glass tower, yet here she was, sipping water, smiling at him across the table, as if time had paused just for them. Eventually, Lily's yawns grew too big to hide. Daniel stood, ready to offer one last grateful nod, but Victoria reached into her purse, pulled out a pen, and wrote something quickly on a napkin. She slid it toward him. "My number," she said, gentle but firm, certain, "in case you ever need anything." Daniel hesitated, his rough hand hovering over the paper. "That's kind of you. Take it," she whispered, her fingers brushing his as she pressed it into his palm. A brief, startling warmth, that lingered long after her touch was gone. She leaned down to Lily. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Lily threw her small arms around Victoria's neck. Without a second thought, for a moment Victoria closed her eyes, returning the hug with a tenderness that seemed to surprise even her. Later, under the cool Boston night, Daniel buckled Lily into her booster seat, tucking her jacket snugly around her. He climbed behind the wheel of his old truck, stared once more at the napkin, then slipped it into the glove box. His jaw tightened. He didn't do rich women, not the ones with perfect hair. And Liv's lived in penthouses. Not him, not Lily. But what Daniel didn't yet know was that the woman whose number now rested in his truck was Victoria Sterling, billionaire CEO of Sterling Global Media, and she had no intention of letting him disappear from her carefully ordered life. The next morning, the garage smelled of oil and steel, familiar, grounding, yet the folded napkin in Daniel's pocket felt heavier than any engine part. Louis leaned against the bay door, chewing a granola bar, grinning like he knew everything. "So, you gonna call her?" "Daniel." Daniel tightened a bolt harder than necessary. "Who?" Louis laughed. "Don't play dumb. The woman you saved, gorgeous. Looked like she walked off a magazine." Daniel wiped his hands on a rag, voice low. "She gave me her number?" "I didn't ask." Not an answer. "Brother?" Daniel said nothing, just leaned deeper into the engine, letting the shop's roar drown out every question he wasn't ready to face. That night, the little house was quiet. Except for the soft scratch of crayons, Lily sat at the kitchen table, tongue poking out as she colored a dinosaur, with legs far too short. Daniel rinsed a mug, watching her with quiet love. "Daddy," she said suddenly, not looking up. "She likes Triceratops." He frowned. "Who?" "The lady from the restaurant. She told me." A pause. Another green scale. "She said it's the underdog. Strong, even though it looks small." Daniel's hand stilled on the dish towel. The memory rose warm and vivid. Victoria's soft laugh in the booth. The way she'd leaned close to Lily, as if every word was treasure. Lily kept coloring. "She also said, you have strong arms, strong enough to help anybody." He almost dropped the mug. Kids didn't filter truth. By the time Lily was tucked in, dinosaur drawing propped proudly on her nightstand, Daniel stood in the hallway, phone in hand, staring at elegant handwriting that suddenly felt like fate. He dialed. 1 ring. 2. "Hello?" Her voice, clear, confident, yet softer than he remembered. "It's Daniel Archer from the other night?" A breath of silence, then the faintest smile in her tone. "I was wondering if you'd call?" A pause, almost shy. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure I should," he admitted, glancing toward Lily's glowing nightlight. "And why did you?" He smiled into the dark. "Because my daughter thinks you're magic." Victoria laughed, low and rich, the sound settling warm in his chest. "I like her already." He exhaled, something loosening inside him. "I think you left us tickets to the museum." "I did," she said gently. "Maybe you'd like to use one. Tomorrow. Noon." "Tomorrow?" he answered, and it felt like stepping off a cliff into something beautiful. The museum rang with children's footsteps on marble, laughter bouncing through sunlight and fossils. Daniel held Lily's hand, scanning the crowd with quiet nerves. Then she appeared, not in diamonds and silk, but jeans, a soft hoodie, sunglasses hiding the eyes he already knew by heart. She looked almost ordinary and breathtaking. "Hey, Lily," she said, crouching, voice like a hug, ready to see some real dinosaur bones. Lily's shyness vanished. "I practiced my dinosaur walk." Victoria's laugh was sunlight. "Show me." Lily stomped, growled, arms bent like tiny claws. A few strangers smiled. Victoria clapped, eyes shining. "That's fierce. You scared half the museum." And just like that, Victoria stepped into their world, fully, beautifully, without armor. They wandered for hours. Lily pulled them from fossil to fossil, small hand often slipping into Victoria's, as naturally as breathing. Victoria never let go. In the planetarium, under a sky of manufactured stars, Lily nestled into Daniel's side, Victoria close enough that he felt her warmth, even in the dark. When the lights came up, none of them wanted to leave. Later, on a park bench with hot dogs and ketchup smiles, Victoria gently wiped a smear from Lily's cheek. Daniel watched, heart too full for words. "You're good with her." he said quietly. She makes it easy, Victoria answered, eyes soft on his. And in that ordinary moment, something extraordinary took root. That night, Victoria stood on her penthouse terrace, city glittering below like scattered diamonds. She canceled Paris, postponed mergers, declined the Met Gala. Natalie appeared, stunned. You just canceled Paris. I rescheduled, Victoria said, voice calm, certain. Natalie stared. You haven't left a crisis hanging in 6 years. Victoria looked out at the skyline. She'd ruled for so long, and finally saw something more. I think I'm done pretending that any of it matters more than this. A week later, Daniel stood before an unassuming door between a laundromat and a bakery. Inside waited a secret rooftop garden, fairy lights, string quartet, and Victoria, waiting only for him. They talked until the stars came out, not about money or power, but about loneliness and silence and the terrifying beauty of being truly seen. Weeks turned to months. Victoria showed up to school plays, pancake dinners, rainy sidewalks. She never missed a promise. And when the day came for Daniel to make Lily his forever in court, Victoria walked out of an international firestorm to stand beside them. When the judge asked for a secondary guardian, Daniel didn't hesitate. Victoria Sterling, the judge lifted a brow. Is she family? Daniel looked at the woman who had chosen them every single day. Yes, he said. She's family, Lily whispered. Forever. Daniel kissed her hair. Forever. Baby. That night, Daniel cooked, actually cooked, while Victoria leaned against his counter, in sweatpants, wine in hand, laughing at his terrible stirring technique. Lily read aloud from the couch, in her dinosaur pajamas, and when the candles were lit, and the rice was only slightly burned, Daniel reached across the table, took Victoria's hand. Do you think this is real? She asked, voice trembling with hope. I know it is, he said, because I've never let anyone this close. Not since her. She circled the table, slid into his lap, forehead to forehead. I love you. I love you too. From the couch came a small, syrup-sweet voice. Are you guys kissing yet? Daniel laughed, deep and free. Not yet. Kiddo. Victoria buried her face in his neck, laughing with him, and the sound filled every corner of the little house with something unbreakable. Months later, under strings of lights and a sky full of sunflowers, they promised forever again, this time with rings and tears and Lily as the entire garden. The world wrote its headlines. Victoria let them, because the only story that mattered was the one written in quiet mornings, sticky pancake fingers, and the certain knowledge that they had chosen each other, not because they had to, but because they couldn't imagine a single day without. And somewhere in Boston, in an ordinary kitchen that now smelled of coffee, crayons, and love, 3 hearts beat as one, forever.